Hey guys, welcome back. I know what you're thinking. Hey, surprise video. And yes, it is. See, I originally wasn't gonna make this video, and I have a couple reasons for making it. First one is I did kind of feel bad about leaving you guys out to dry last week by not uploading because of the whole vacation thing that I was on. So I decided to upload, this video as kind of like a little treat to you guys. Now, the second reason, and this is probably slightly more important, is honestly, I got recommended this video to me just by dumb luck by YouTube's algorithm or whatever, and I couldn't resist. And I want to hear what this guy has to say about Hunter x Hunter being trash. I'm curious. I don't think it's gonna persuade me because I feel like I'm already too far gone. The ship has sailed. It's been sailed. And I did a couple laps around. It doesn't matter. I usually don't make videos like this, by the way, but hey, if it works, might see more of them. Link me a video or tell me about a video in the comments, and if it's interesting enough or relevant enough, I'll react to it. Anyway, that being said, let's start watching this.
Let me just tell you that this title is not my opinion.
Okay, that's slightly misleading, but wow, I just noticed the like-dislike ratio. What is going on? I thought he said that this wasn't his opinion. What's going on here?
Or Hunter x Hunter. I mean, I'm gonna call it Hunter x Hunter. F you. And with these.
Nah, dude, I call it Hunter x Hunter. I can't say the X. It freaks me out.
So here we are with our first review. Hunter x Hunter is one of those anime where you can literally see the quality dropping, with the early episodes being made nice.
The quality certainly does not drop in Hunter x Hunter. It increases by a lot. If anything, this guy is describing a decreasing slope. If it's Hunter x Hunter only increases in quality as the show goes on. I don't know what this dude is smoking, and I don't mean the guy in the video. I mean the guy in the guy's video.
The main characters are also unexplained overpowered. Sure, there are a few stronger, but that alone doesn't justify a little kid being physically stronger than a well-trained, grown-up man, just because he grew up in the woods.
Okay, I actually kind of agree with this to a point, or rather I did, but I think that the subtle implication is that they were already prodigies of some kind, and sure, Gon's explanation is that, he grew up in the woods, so he has spring-like limbs, which I think is actually more correct, because that's kind of unbelievable if you think about it. But Killua, on the other hand, Killua's been trained since he was born, dude. This guy was going on assassination missions at 4 years old. He has every reason to be that strong. I don't know what they're smoking.
First 17 to 20 episodes, maybe, was okay. It had a goal and set motivation from the character side. The main story kind of made sense more than the rest of the show, and they had some kind of what the fans claim as tactics in fighting.
See, this is the stuff I'm talking about, guys. The Hunter exam arc gets no respect. It is the most underrated arc. I wish more people would like it. Makes me sad.
In the second arc, the terror already begins. Motivations from the character were completely forgotten, and not even mentioned in order to have a little conflict for the goal of this arc. The reason for the first arc and what they have achieved was completely pointless. Some of the arcs are complete fillers since they either are pointless or have nothing to do with the final goal. In parentheses, the motivation of the main character. There is even one arc where the main character is inside a video game, which makes the whole arc pointless and questions the existence of the build-up to it. I absolutely agree.
What? You agree with the Greed Island take? That's a bad take, my guy. That's a terrible take. The whole point of going to Greed Island in the first place was because Gene built it. And if you may recall, Gene's probably the greatest hunter in the world, and he's also the best hide and seek player of all time. Gon just doesn't have instant access to where Gene is at all times, otherwise they'll defeat the whole point of the show. He has to go through Greed Island because that's his only lead. Yo, if he's really bagging on Greed Island right now, I'm starting to understand these dislikes.
A thing that really bothers me as well is the fact that this show has no skill whatsoever. The abilities and the strength of every character are so completely random and out of order. It even shifts during the whole anime, making character who should be strong considering their rank utterly weak, and character who should be weak unnecessarily strong.
Okay, so a note about Hunter x Hunter's power scaling. It's actually perfect if you think about it, and I don't mean that because I'm a Hunter x Hunter fanboy. I am, but that's not the point. See, Hunter x Hunter's power scaling, it doesn't correspond with Hunter x Hunter's labels. In One Punch Man, for example, you have class Demon, Wolf, Dragon, and God for villains, and then for the heroes you have S class, A class, B class, etc. And same with My Hero Academia. And you can kind of fathom that if you were in S class, you were probably the strongest in that universe. But Hunter x Hunter, in my opinion, does this brilliantly and actually has the rank of Hunter be essentially a job or like an occupation, right? Because remember, there's 2 hunter exams. One is the actual hunter exam, and 2 is like unlocking and figuring out Nen. And yeah, of course, not everybody's going to be the same level of power, but they're all hunters to some degree, right? Some people have passed the Nen exam, some people haven't passed the Nen exam. The important thing is that once they do pass the second hunter exam and then eventually unlock their Nen, that's pretty much it. Gon and Killua are prodigies, right? They were naturally born powerful, right? And their Nen unlocked that. So like their potential is way higher than say that spineless coward Pokel. He was weak and useless and garbage, but you know, he unlocked his Nen or whatever. You remember that one Chimera ant he shot before, you know, dying?
The Chimera arc is the worst thing I have seen in a long time in terms of writing. You can't take anything they say and do seriously.
What? The Chimera Ant is the worst you've seen in writing? Okay, dude, Chimera Ant isn't my favorite arc either, but whoa, take it easy, buddy. I can make videos on all of these, man. This is some weird takes, bro. These are bad takes. These are bad takes.
They say they are ants, but then a penguin and a pink panda in a suit is sitting there with them. None of these so-called ant villains looks even remotely like an ant.
They don't look like ants because they're Chimera ants. They evolve. That's their whole thing. That's what makes them so dangerous. And they reproduce because the queen eats other animals and takes the traits from the animals she eats, or creatures, I should say, and passes them on to the offspring. They're still ants. A good chunk of the Chimera ants that were made looked like giant ants. She was a giant ant, but you know what? Her diet wasn't ants. Her diet was pandas, penguins, birds, humans, mostly humans. That's why they're anthropomorphic. Okay, this is really bothering me. That's the dumbest part. Okay.
The writers wanted to make this arc dark and mature, but only showed how childish their writing is. Wow, characters are dying more often now, but that's about it with all the change they made.
Okay, so I might actually make a, you know what, if this video right here gets 40 likes, I will make a video on the Chimera Ant arc, because these takes are so trash, and I think some people are genuinely confused by what the Chimera Ant arc is. So if you want to see that video, you know, 40 likes, and I'll definitely make it. I might make it anyway, but like, hey, like the video anyway. And also, while you're liking it, be sure to subscribe. I see that 98.8% of you aren't subscribed. So please subscribe, it's free, and you could cancel it anytime. Thanks a lot. Anyway, back to this guy's trash point real quick. So the thing about Chimera Ant was that it was unexpected. It was narratively and within the show completely unexpected. It was never meant to happen. If this was a typical shonen, Kite was supposed to train Gon. Gon was supposed to get stronger because of Kite's training and then move along to the next phase or whatever in his life, right? The Chimera Ants were an accident. They derailed everything. They even say this in the show. It's amazing. That's insane. I will go further in depth in that video, but like, wow. Also, nitpick, I hate that these comments keep saying writers instead of writer. You know, you disrespect Togashi. That's kind of messed up.
In Hunter x Hunter, they at least didn't go full overpowered with the main character. He is a very wish-fulfilling character and not that much of a role model. I think—
oh my god, Gon should not be anybody's role model. Gon's a monster. The thing is, there's so much to unpack with this. The characters are bland and the power scaling makes no sense and the main characters are overpowered or whatever. They're not. They're absolutely not. They may have faster progression, like with proper training, like they had with Bisky, right? But it was not a dramatic change. All they did was just unlock Nen, and they spent months getting to a reasonable spot and finally starting to develop their own unique styles of Nen. At the end of the series, Gon still couldn't do paper properly. He has to force it out. And the only reason I think this guy says overpowered is because of the adult Gon thing, which was a Nen contract, which almost killed him. That's insane to me that somebody will look at all of that and say, oh yeah, all these characters are overpowered. Hunter x Hunter has the most stable power scaling of most animes, dude. It's crazy. This is asinine. This is a dumb argument. And also, if you just one last thing, if you look at the York New City arc, right, not even Chimera Ant, they were still drastically overpowered. They never, like, they still cannot match the Phantom Troop. I want to make that perfectly clear. Gon and Killua right now are at a reasonable level. I don't think Killua can 1v1 Illumi. just don't think that can happen. They're literally just starting out.
I've never seen a fanbase more toxic and elitist than Hunter x Hunter fans. All of these people just constantly praise this anime and talk about how well written it is. But in reality,
That's literally what I'm doing right now. I am talking about how well written it is, but don't be mad at me. It's the truth. Don't be mad at the truth.
Hunter x Hunter has one thing going for it: the York New arc. Every other arc in this show was complete and utter garbage, and I'll explain why. First, we have the Hunter exam arc. This was just a pathetic version of the tuning exams. It just feels way too slow and boring.
Bro, are you on crack? Hunter exam arc's great. Stop disrespecting the Hunter exam arc.
This was the first arc in the series, and it just failed to attach me to any of the characters. There was just no reason to like any of these characters at all. No one was the typical generic shonen protagonist.
You know, they all start off as boring characters because they're meant to. You have to start off with your characters being reasonably plain, and then you develop them so it's not too much. Imagine somebody went up to you and was just like, "Hi, I'm seeking revenge for my entire clan being murdered," and that was your first interaction. That'd be weird. So when you meet new people, you don't start off with the crazy stuff. You gotta warm them up to it, you know? Invite them to dinner first, take a deadly hunter exam with them, stuff like that.
Next, we have the Zoldyck family arc. Oh, what a waste of time.
You know the Zoldyck family arc is not a waste of time? And you know why? Because it introduces you to the Zoldicks, who are very important in the later arcs.
They just go into the mansion and then get Killua and then leave. This arc should have been longer and actually gave more depth to Killua's family. Wait, wasn't this the same dude that was complaining about having like slow and boring pacing?
Yeah, wasn't this the same guy that was complaining how it was a useless arc, but it gave... Oh my god.
And as usual, we get the stupid friendship slash Nakama.
I'm not too mad about the friendship thing. I just think it shows that Gon's kind of a prick, kind of a child, which he is, but still. It's hard for me to gauge bad levels of power of friendship in anime these days, because after you watch Fairy Tail, that meter in your brain that just measures, oh, is this power of friendship getting resolved, and it just gets busted in your head and you can't tell anymore. So yeah, that's my scale. Hunter's way below it. They're good.
None of the villains were interesting at all. They were just the typical cliche villains you'd see in any shonen. The fights were complete and utter garbage.
I take offense to that, sir. These are not the typical, like, shonen villains. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Hisoka's an icon, dude. Genthru's... Okay, you got me there.
It's funny how they spend so much time training, yet when Gon finally fights Hisoka, it's nothing but hand-to-hand combat for the most part.
It was the most insane hand-to-hand. Are you serious? That fight was heated. It was a back and forth. I couldn't breathe the first time I saw it, dude. I was in complete silence.
So much training, yet he doesn't even know how to use real techniques.
Why would he know how to use real techniques at 12 years old? And if he did use real techniques at 12 years old, you would be complaining about that because and then you'd say the character's too OP. What?
Next is the York New arc, a very good arc. Almost everything about this arc is actually phenomenal.
It's crazy that all these people hate every part of the show except for the York New City arc.
The rest of the Phantom Troop all lack depth to them, so I just didn't find them to be good villains. Such a shame.
The Phantom Troop requires a little bit of work to like get, and I understand it. They seem generic on first glance, but once you see like the nuance of their interactions and honestly how they approach their whole thing, it makes a lot of sense. I half agree with Uvigin being generic. I think the biggest thing to tell you that he's not generic is that he was willing to die for the Phantom Troop without making it a big deal. Usually when soldier characters, you know, die on their sword or whatever, they have this whole I did it for the glory of, but in reality, Uvigin died for his family. I'd say that's some pretty compelling writing. I'm not going too hard, but I'm just saying.
Togashi made an interesting concept for this arc, just to ruin it by making it a training arc. He just doesn't know how to balance things out, and this arc is the perfect example. Them collecting cards was painfully boring to watch. The card system wasn't explained in detail, so that was boring. We don't know what any of these cards are or do, so I got bored with all the card collecting bullshit.
The card system was explained in grueling detail. Fun fact, you can actually see the official rules as well as the entire library of the cards and what they do and what their attack points are. The whole concept for Greed Island is crazy. It's really cool.
The main villain has got to be one of the worst villains I've ever seen in a shonen series. No depth whatsoever. He's just the typical one-dimensional villain that's evil just for the sake of being evil.
Yeah, I'd say Genthru is pretty generic. He's like the the black sheep of the Hunter x Hunter villains, which is honestly a shame, because before that you got Hisoka and the Phantom Troop, and then after that you get Meruem and the Chimera Ants, and then in the middle of this like spectacular sandwich is just this slightly mediocre piece of cheese. I will say though, at the end he did get pretty interesting.
The Chimera Ant arc has got to be one of the most overrated shonen arc I've ever seen.
The most overrated arc in shonen.
First 20 episodes of it were extremely slow paced and dragged on.
The first couple episodes of Chimera Ants were a bit kind of slow, and oh god, I'm gonna sound like the biggest fanboy right now. I'll say it again. The whole point of the Chimera Ant arc was that it wasn't meant to happen. So the first 20 episodes were how the arc was supposed to go. Traditionally, it's boring, you meet a new mentor, you learn about their origin, you learn about the character's origin, etc, etc, and then Chimera Ant happens.
The narration was the worst part about this arc. It completely ruined this arc in many ways. Firstly, the narration happened in some of the most important parts of the arc, when they were raiding the palace.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. The narration was terrible. The narrator should be drawn and quartered for his sins. I never want to hear his voice again, but unfortunately I'm going to be rewatching Hunter x Hunter a lot more, so I'm going to have to find a way to emotionally be okay with that, and I don't know, I hate him so much. The narrator is the worst character in Hunter x Hunter. Tied with Pokel.
Next overrated fight, Meruem versus Netero. You imagine hyping up a villain for 50 episodes just for him to have no cool techniques or anything. His fight with Netero was so boring. He just gets smacked away and flies right back at.
Did this guy just call the Meruem Netero fight boring? What? Excuse me? Excuse you, sir. That's a bad opinion. That's a terrible take. Boo. Boo on you. That's one of the greatest fights in all of anime. I know that might also be a hot take, but I'm saying it. That fight was so heated. It was intense. These guys were going at it to the extreme. Meruem's strategy was brilliant. Are you kidding me? And of course he didn't have any advanced techniques. He was born like 20 days ago. What do you expect from this guy? And by the way, again, with Chimera Ant's theme of like not going according to plan, Meruem's plan didn't go according to plan. He didn't expect Netero to like blow up a nuke in his heart. Are you kidding me? He was waiting for like a proper invasion to happen. They were waiting for the Chimera Ants for the new Chimera Ants to be made. There's so much these people are missing. I'm so mad, but
The problem is that a ton of fights in which the battle system doesn't even f***ing matter. Like, why put so much detail into the power system when the fights just end up being the typical shonen fights? Meruem versus Netero is the perfect example of this. This fight was just another typical DBZ type of fight you see in anime.
Bro, have you ever watched a DBZ fight? It's literally just until Goku outscreams the other guy and changes his hair color. What? This guy's crazy. Meruem and Netero are not that's not a DBZ fight. This guy's smoking something.
Killua had some development, but I disliked him due to his constant change in personalities. One second he's the typical 12-year-old, the second he's edgy as hell. His character development is very basic as well. Leorio could have been a good character, but unfortunately he was neglected for like 90% of the anime.
Yes, Leorio does deserve more respect. He was neglected, he was underutilized. We love Leorio and we want to see more of him. It's a shame and a crime that there isn't more of him. And also, a note on the thing he said about Killua's character development. Killua had some great character development. He was fighting his demons, dude. This guy was raised as an assassin and he's still a kid. So all of this like freedom, friendship stuff with Gon is very recent part of his life. So it's not his default state yet. And obviously he didn't lose his skills as an assassin. So he still know how to intimidate and kill somebody. Like, yes, it makes sense for his character. And also, he had great character development. The fuck you talking about? Especially with that fight with that like rabbit bird guy thing where he took out Illumi's pin. That was a major point for Killua. These are bad takes.
Meruem is incredibly overrated. He's just the typical I want to rule the world type of villain.
Meruem is not the typical I want to rule the world kind of villain. Are you serious? He was, and then he changed. What?
The only enjoyable arc in this anime was the York New arc, and that's
York New arc. Oh, yeah, there it is. There's the praise for the York New arc. What is up with this theme of everybody who hates this anime loving York New City?
I don't recommend watching this anime. Wait, what? Wait, why not? There's just so much other anime to watch that are much better. If you're looking for a badass shonen with awesome fights and great characters, go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. They are both written by the same mangaka, but at least Yu Yu Hakusho is enjoyable to watch.
I can't speak for how good Yu Yu Hakusho is. I tried watching it. I got like 15 episodes in, but I got bored and stopped watching. Oof, I'm sorry, Emil.
You know a show is poorly written when they have to waste minutes and sometimes even entire episodes to explain why a certain action would have the consequences that it does. A good show would set up the conditions for its magic and then through action show what happens. In Hunter x Hunter, we are held by our hands and literally told what the consequences of an action would be. Nothing is left for the viewer to figure out.
I don't know how to respond to this particular one. It's an interesting criticism because it's very much like it's in the eyes of the beholder thing. I never really saw it as holding my hand. It's always been a gradual build.
Like, yo, Hunter x Hunter is great, but now, after going through these quality and exquisite reviews, it really enlightened me to the fact that Hunter x Hunter is poo-poo. And I hope this ray of enlightenment reached your soul too.
Yeah, okay, so that was an interesting video. I don't think this guy hates Hunter x Hunter, but I do think that the dislikes for this video might be because some people misinterpreted some of his sarcasm. So I can kind of understand that. I think biggest takeaways that I'm having from this video are A, people that hate the show really like York New City for some odd reason. They all hate Meruem and Netero. Character designs are awful, apparently. And everybody almost unanimously hates Chimera Ant. My opinion, they all just misunderstand it. But hey, I might be just feeding into the narrative of blind Hunter x Hunter fanboy, but that's my take. This was an interesting kind of video to make. Tell me if you guys want to see more videos like this in the future. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.